Hello, Chameleon Academy. Welcome to Saturday Chameleon Talk. Hello, everybody. And just wait for everybody to come in. I don't wait for anything. We're just going to keep going. Okay, Susan has her coffee, ready to learn, have some fun. Excellent. We have someone from RAHH from San Bruno. Hello, Richard. Richard. And let's see, Stephanie's here with a fancy caramel latte. Ready? Love Chameleon Saturday. Chameleon Coughing Saturday. Excellent. Great attitude there. Love having people like that. And Genevieve is here. Hello, Genevieve. So, all right, Susan, what kind of coffee do you have? Let's learn what everybody has. Yes, and for everybody coming in, I originally started with chameleons and coffee, and I just had a coffee, but then people started asking what kind of coffee I have. Eduardo from Mexico is here. Excellent. And Looney Bins TV, yo, yo, yo. James is here. James, do we need to open the door? I have the Memorial Fog Bank. James, you're going to like what's going to happen for next week. So we're going to have something. I'm going to have everybody going to have a different background for next week. And so it'll be kind of fun. Liza Ann says, won't be on today. Just want to, Eliza. Okay, Eliza's got like life or something to do. But Eliza, thank you very much for joining in and dropping in and saying hello. So let's see. Genevieve has already had 2 this morning, so water will have to suffice. Okay. I call mine fancy schmancies. All right, Genevieve. Well, we need to know what's in the fancy schmancy. Maybe even if it's next week, come in and tell us next week. Let's see. We have a request for a replacement. Replace coffee with my beer. Yes, you may. You may, Jarek. Jarek. Yes, you may replace it with a beer. Jim's here. Hey, Jim Ruckbost from makes those feeders. Oh, I don't have them here. You guys remember the log lunches that look so naturalistic? There we go. That's so we got Jim here. Hello, Jim and Patrick. For all those wondering, I know everybody's who's new here is going, wait a minute, how can we start talking about chameleons? We'll get to chameleons. We'll be talking a lot about chameleons. But when we start the show, we always got to say hello to everybody because we have a group that is here every Saturday. So it's kind of like you're joining a community of friends. So just sit back, enjoy. You can turn this on while you're doing something else. And for all those wondering, hey, Dave Finns is here. Hello. For all those wondering what I am drinking, I'm trying something different. Tia is here. Okay, Tia, I don't know how you're going to feel about what I've done today. So my European contingent is pretty picky as far as what kind of coffee is appropriate to drink. So, Phil from the UK is here. Hey, we're getting international. I love it. So I remember a while ago, I don't know, decades ago, there was something called Coke Black, where Coca-Cola had this Coke and coffee drink that came for just a brief moment and then it disappeared. And it sounds like something that should work, but when you actually try it, you're not sure how well it's working. Well, I have decided that I am going to attempt it again. And so because somebody in my family got one of those Mexican Cokes that's made with real sugar instead of the corn syrup that we get in the United States. And so I went ahead and I mixed today Coca-Cola with the Mexican Coke with the real sugar and cold brew. So we're going to see what comes of it. And I apologize if this offends the sensitivities of any coffee aficionados. I completely understand where you're coming from, but living on the edge. And hello, Ryan. You're here. And we have a Facebook user saying, hi, Bill. For the people on Facebook, just remember, I don't always get to see your name because Facebook likes to just tell me your Facebook user. I guess they value your privacy if I'm not paying for it. Usually, if you're on Facebook, you want to know who I am, who you are, you want me to know who you are. Just go dash and put your name, and then I can know the name. But all right, so we're going to get talking about chameleons. In fact, I brought a friend here that will show, but I'm going to go ahead and try this homemade Coke Black type stuff. Let's see how this goes. I don't. Now I know why it didn't last for long. It's coffee drinkers will be saying, "What the heck?" Coke drinkers will be saying, "What the heck?" And it's probably an acquired taste. That's what I'm guessing. Um, hmm. Maybe I need to work on the portions. I don't know. Okay, so anyway, I'm testing it so you don't have to. Oh, all right. Hey, Kenny, good to see you here. All right, so now it's time for show and tell. Let's see. Just go wait a second. And while I am getting our featured guest, uh, tell me how things are going in your guys's world. Ah, Ryan is cheating. His sister worked at Dutch Bros, so I get amazing cold brew. Ah, uh, if I wasn't doing like product marketing for consumer electronics or chameleon stuff, I think I should have just become a barista. I think that would have been awesome and a lot of fun. But nope, my life has brought me to chameleons. All right, we're going to do this very gently. Everything you do with chameleons is gently. I hope that wasn't a spoiler that this has to do with chameleons. So just give me a second here as I be as ginger and careful as possible. There we go. All right, come on. Just hang tight with me. I know this isn't good film, but we are chameleon people, and so we have learned to be patient. So give me a second. Give me a second. Almost there. Oh no, don't do that. You know how you're trying to get a chameleon out and you put a branch for them and they just crawl over the branch? All right. Now, let's blueberry coffee. Ooh, I need to try that. All right, we're going to try this. Yeah, it's always difficult to get the focus. Look at that little guy hanging upside down saying, "What the heck? Get away from me, you crazy people." Oh, isn't he precious? He or she, I'm not sure. I generally don't do a whole lot of sexing of my baby chameleons. I'm not terribly good at it, and I've not, let's see, so hard to get the focus right, but it's a little baby panther chameleon. If you guys have seen on my Instagram, the or maybe YouTube, whenever I had that yellow body blue bar, that gorgeous male from Ipardalis, Antilles, I call him. I'm just not going to be able to get the focus on that, but it's a little baby panther chameleon. So precious. This is his son or daughter. So I'm really looking forward to raising this little clutch up. And these are the babies that I am using to produce all of the educational material on how to take care of a panther chameleon hatchling. Let's see. We have. How's your temperatures down there? Got my cams out. This may be from James Cross. Working on exterior cages, probably James Cross, with missing system with misters. How hot should it be outside before I bring them in? We're about 85 today. Yeah, 85 is starting to get there. Okay, so this is what I do. I am in Southern California. And so right now the temperatures are getting into where I am, are going to get into the high 70s today, almost 80, maybe 81. And so the thing is, I have all of my most of right now, I have most of my outdoor chameleons on my planter box cages, which means that they have there's a planter box. It's about a foot deep of soil. I have a 2 by 2 by 4 foot tall cage, or sometimes larger, on top of that, and then it's on wheels. And so I move them around every day, every week, depending upon uh, what the conditions are, how hot it is. If it's really cold, or like in the 60s or low 70s, I reel them all out into the sun. If it's getting into the high 80s, I wheel them all into the shade. If it gets into the like 90s, which it's doing that more and more, they all go under the patio, and I got the misters and stuff just to keep them cool. So how hot should it be outside before I bring them in? James, you're talking about parsoni. I don't like my parsons getting up into the 90s, and even the high 80s are okay with misters and shade, but in 90s, bring them in. That's just what I do. The rest of them, like my veileds, panthers, they can in the high 80s. I bring everybody into the shade when it gets up to there. Jacksons are really tricky. You start getting into the high 80s for an extended period of time, and you start getting your temporal gland infections. So they don't like those hot temperatures, and so I just move them in and out in the sun. I have shade. I have inside the garage area, which have an air conditioner, and so I'm very flexible. Now, uh, when I have, I usually for my parsons have a large outdoor walk-in enclosure, and in that one, it's got misters, and I've relatively recently moved, so I haven't been able to build back my huge enclosure. But I would have it heavily shaded and misted, and with a soil bottom. So when it started getting hot like this, they would be in the shade and they would be misted, and so I would control temperature that way. Let's see. Looney Bins. Last time we spoke, I just had the large zoom ed cage. All right, that's the 36-inch. Large is 18 by 18 by 36. I've since built a new hybrid enclosure. It's 4 by. Oh, excellent, excellent. Oh my goodness, that is 4 by 7 is an incredible size cage. Good job, Looney Bins TV. Good job. I have ordered mailed a Shaughnessy and a female. Couldn't pass it up, so 1.2 a Shaughnessy. Excellent, Ryan. I will follow your progress with the O'Shaughnessy. I am working with O'Shaughnessy. Wasn't able to get some breeding. Still working out exactly how to make them happy. I'm working on acclimation. There's been some back and forth. I've had to deal with some fungus on one of them, or two of them. So yeah, I'm going through the typical wild caught acclimation type stuff. And people out there, don't get wild caught. If you go ahead, get captive hatched. I'm doing it because I'm a breeder. I'm trying to work with a new species. I know what I'm getting into. I'm not exactly excited about it. This isn't I'm a experienced keeper, so I can do wild caught type thing. It's miserable for experienced keepers. It's miserable. I, I had to think twice before getting involved in wild caught again. I have access to so many exotic species, wild caught. You would imagine I have a lot of contacts around the world. I literally will get on a waiting list for a captive hatched individual, and I will pay twice as much than a wild caught. I've been around long enough. There is no glory in bringing in a wild caught if you don't have to. There's pain, expense, sorrow, misery. So don't just because it's a wild caught, just because it's big and beautiful, don't do that to yourself. Get a captive hatched individual. Pay the price for a captive hatched individual. It is so worth it. So, when I see somebody getting a wild caught, it's like, oh gosh, if you're not a breeder, you're not doing this for a specific reason. It's there's no glory in it. So yeah, I'm not bragging that I have wild caught. I am asking for your sympathy. All right. So yeah, we're working with a Shona CI. There are no captive hatched available, and we're gonna see if we can make captive hatched available. So I'll let you all know when if, and it's not a sure thing. Kaluma are really tough, and so you know, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I hope I'm successful. It's kind of a bucket list thing. I've I've not successfully hatched out a Kaluma. I've bred them. I've had unfortunately infertile eggs. Um, so anyway, it's a bucket list thing for me. So you all can be along with this. This whole Chameleon Academy thing. This really is a journal of my growth as a chameleon keeper, and so you're all along for the ride, and you can vicariously do these things with me. So, what are your thoughts of using Star Sands food grade sanitizer in misting reservoirs? I don't know. I don't know. I've never used it, never looked into it, but I, I will be very interested in what you find in trying it. Yeah, Ryan says they're going to be pets first. Talking about the O'Shaughnessy eye, they're like I hate to say miniature parson's eyes, but I guess I'll say that because you're everybody is knows what a parson's is. So they're a smaller cousin of the parsons. They're the colors, the green colors are just amazing with the blue in their goulars. But yeah, see what happens. See what happens. Uh, Jonathan Hill. We have celebrities. What are some of the advanced topics you are thinking about for the new Panther Chameleon podcast? Okay. Um, what Jonathan is talking about, and I will introduce is that I have started a new podcast show called the Panther Chameleon Podcast. And as of this point, I've just released a trailer on Spotify and a first episode. So the rest of so it can start trickling down into all the podcast places. You have to do that. You can't announce a podcast and then it takes like 5 days for Google Podcasts to get it, Apple Podcasts to get it. So you kind of gotta like sneak it out the door and then wait a week. So that's what I'm doing. But you know, I've got my core group here, and so yes, my idea, what I am doing is creating a tutorial podcast, whereas the Chameleon Academy podcast, which is going to go in parallel. So this isn't replacing anything. It's just in parallel and it's got a specific purpose. Where the Chameleon Academy, I'm talking advanced concepts. I'm pushing advanced husbandry. We're trying to figure things out. You're along for my journey as I explore dry season and all these more advanced in-depth concepts. This is where we explore UV index of 3 and debate about those kind of things. But that is kind of intimidating for someone just new into chameleons. They come across one of those episodes and it's like, oh well, wait a minute, I mean this is really cool, but I'm trying to figure out how to set up a cage. That in conjunction with more people coming to me asking how to take care of eggs and hatchlings has inspired me to create the Panther Chameleon podcast, which is specifically geared towards someone with absolutely no experience and is starting from ground zero. And so you're going to be, it's meant to start at episode 1. And I'm going to handhold you through taking care of a Panther Chameleon. And I am going to start with a hatchling. And so there will be like 14 episodes that are going to be for taking care of a panther chameleon hatchling. And then the next 14 or 15 episodes, we'll be taking care of a panther chameleon juvenile. And this will correspond, not coincidentally, with me hatching out my clutch of panther chameleons, and I am going to be taking you along. It's like a vlog. I'm going to be taking you along the journey as they grow up. So, but this is meant to be a reference for anybody who wants to start with panther chameleon, whether they're starting with a hatchling, okay, they can start with episode 1. If they're starting with a well-started juvenile, they can start at episode 15. If they're starting with a wild caught, well, maybe that's in the future. Or if they want to breed, maybe that's in the future. But the idea behind the Panther Chameleon podcast is that it's going to explore every life stage of the panther chameleon. It's not necessarily meant to be an ongoing podcast that'll go 5, 7, whatever years. It's going to go until I finish the life cycle, the entire life cycle of a panther chameleon. And at that point, it will stay as a reference, and I may go back and I re-record episodes just to maintain that body of knowledge that is for somebody who starts off at ground zero. And Jonathan, as far as the advanced topics, I think I probably won't do advanced topics. I think I want the Panther Chameleon podcast to stay at very basic level. And when people are ready and they're done with the tutorials, then they can jump over to the Chameleon Academy podcast, where we're going to be, throughout this whole time, we're going to keep talking about our advanced topics and such. Now, since it's coming from me, just one person, I expect that there's going to be a lot of overlap, because when I'm thinking about one thing through the week, that's what I write about. So, as for everybody else, I invite you to go ahead and check out the Panther Chameleon podcast on any podcast. I don't know that it's showing up on Google yet, but it's on Spotify is where it started, and that gives me some interaction. So that's pretty cool. On Spotify, you'll find it on Spotify. You'll find it on Apple Podcast. It just got onto Amazon Music, and so it hopefully by time I do an official release. So next Friday, I'm going to do the official release. And so you'll hear all about this next Friday. You guys are all on the inside track now. You know what's going on, and that's what I'll launch it. There is a podcast. There is a website support to go with this. So you listen to it. You can go to the website, and there's going to be YouTube videos that go along with every episode. And so you will have a web page, a podcast, and a YouTube video to go along with every stage of this development. And it's not going to be just like the podcast is the audio of the video. They're going to be two totally different productions and two different approaches. So the podcast is me alongside you when you're doing your commute, and we're talking about this thing at a high level. And then the video is going to be showing hands-on, and of course the website is going to have the text and the pictures. So whatever your learning style, you're going to be able to find it. And I encourage you to take a look at all three. So if you guys have any questions about this project, go ahead. Now's the time to ask. Hey, thank you, Ryan. Thank you very much, Ryan, for supporting this live show with a super chat. Let's see. A little bit encouragement. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Phil. Yes, tutorial level. And this make I really felt like I needed a tutorial level, because I have so many people coming to me and saying, hey, I'd really like to understand about this. And I've already done 5 podcasts on it, but I know it's so hard to find those podcasts. And then when you have 5 on the topic of UVB, which one do you listen to? You can listen to all of them, obviously, but um, at this point, I've been doing this long enough that the amount of episodes and web pages and material that I have out there, I mean, I have over 300 videos. It's overwhelming to where people just say, okay, Bill, what can I do? This gives me the opportunity to start from the beginning. And when you go to the show notes page, there is where I have all of the references, all the different other episodes that you can go into, all the other videos you can check out, all the other PDFs, the research material. And so every week you're going to be able to learn about a topic, about 10-minute podcast. It's just a light discussion. And then you go to the show notes page and you're going to be seeing, okay, here's all the other podcasts and videos that I can bolster my knowledge with. And so this allows me to give somebody a guide to start off with. And so it's not the insanity of, well, I've got over 300 podcasts, over 300 videos. Where do I start? So it will be, let's see. Ireland's here. Hello, Garth. Wonderful. My compani won't breed. The male acts like the female is invisible. Yeah, I know that problem. I had that problem for a while. Matthew, I'm just going to throw this out. Just try it. Try it outside. See if that helps. It helped with my minor. They would ignore each other until I took them outside, and we know that the chameleons, they see UVB, they see the much more in the bandwidth than we do, and there may be some sign, some color or something that shows up under natural sunlight that we're not replicating with our artificial lights. I don't know. I don't know that that's the key. Maybe try it. I think that's the best that I can offer. Looney Bins, when did you say that the Panther podcast was coming? It actually is live right now, and there's only one episode. It's I have a trailer and an introductory episode, and you can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also go to the ChameleonAcademy.com website, and you'll see under the menu it says podcasts. You go down under that, you're going to see Chameleon Academy and the Panther Chameleon podcast, and so you can click on the Panther Chameleon podcast, and it's embedded. You can see the first page that has the show notes, so you can get an idea of what I'm doing. But keep in mind, I am just giving you all a preview. It isn't fully officially launched yet. That'll happen next Friday, and so go ahead, check it out now. And you know what would really help? It would really help me if any of you checked it out, if you give me a star rating and a review on the platform that you check it out. So Apple Podcast, give a star rating and a review. Spotify, I think they make you listen to a couple of episodes before you're able to rate it. And I'm going to be doing an episode every week. So sooner or later, they'll let you rate it. But that would really help, because I don't know, the ratings really help. So I would appreciate that if you would do that for me. And especially of when I've launched it on Friday, next Friday, and I'll ask this next Friday. This is really meant to be a educational resource for people. And so this is something that I am hoping you'd be able to send people, link to people and say, hey, check out this podcast. If you know somebody who's just starting off with a Panther Chameleon, especially if they're just starting off with an egg, send this to them and say, hey, this is something for you. This is meant to be a resource for people on social media groups. If your admin team is not as experienced with hatchlings as you are adult Panther Chameleons, I would say don't try to shoehorn adult husbandry into hatchling husbandry. I offer this as an option for you to link to this series. You can link to my website. I'm not trying to take your people. I don't want your people. I don't want a forum. I work with the chameleon enthusiast. but I'm not trying to start a forum, so I'm not trying to take your people. I would love, I want to send everybody right back to you. They can come to the Chameleon Academy, they can listen, they can learn, and then go back to you for any information and for discussion. Of course, it would help if you listened yourself, so you knew what I was talking about. I will give you a preview right now that um, I will be teaching on the Chameleon kit. And I know that will just send red flags everywhere. And so I'm going to have to post a bunch of places and explain what I am doing. But rest assured, I know what I'm doing. And all of the weaknesses of the Chameleon kit that make it a horrible product for chameleons that are sold at pet expos, like the 4 to 5 month old, it's a horrible product for that. You're right. Tell everybody not to do it. You can call it the death kit if you want to. But for hatchlings, if you know how to do it right, that weak UVB is actually a benefit because you're not blasting the entire cage. You absolutely have to put that bendy vine in the exact right place. And I show how to do that. And so I am taking the response. Yes, I am using the Chameleon kit. I am taking responsibility for explaining how to use it. And that's the one thing anybody has to do if you're working with chameleons is you have to take responsibility for hand holding the person through every step. You can't just tell somebody use a T5 UVB. You got to understand how a T5 UVB is used. You can't just put a T5 UVB on a baby cage because you're going to blast the poor little guy. You can't use adult husbandry on a baby size cage. Now you can use adult chameleon husbandry on a 2 by 2 by 4 foot tall cage. But are you going to teach them how to keep a hatchling chameleon in an adult size cage? I am going to do it. And that's one of the things you're going to be seeing in the background next week is I'm going to have all the different kind of cages that you can raise a hatchling chameleon in. And one of them is going to be a 2 by 2 by 4 foot tall cage. And so you're all going to be able to see me do it in a 2 by 2 by 4 foot tall cage. You're going to see me having a hatchling in a Leap Habitats fully bioactive cage. You're going to be able to see them in nursery style cages, which is what a lot of breeders use. And you're going to be able to see them in a couple of outdoor style cages. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to show all the ways to do it. And my hope with that is that when you see how I implement hatchling care with an adult size T5 UVB bulb, and next to it, I'm doing it in a chameleon kit cage with the weak UVB dual dome thing, and then see how I'm doing it with the nursery cages and then the outdoor and all those different ways. You can see the common thread between each one of those and start really understanding the concept that it doesn't matter the technology that you're using. It doesn't matter what UVB light you're using. What matters is what UV index you are giving at the basking branch, what UVB index you are providing to them at their basking branch, and what UVB index you are preventing from coming into the cage. Because if they're crawling on top of the cage, which hatchlings kind of do every now and then, they're going to be exposing their belly. What do you want them to expose their belly to? Is it to UV index of 25 because you just put on a new T5 5.0? Yeah, you got to think about these things. And so I'm going to be going over each one of those steps, and I'm going to be showing different perspective, different ways of doing it. So I'm excited about this. It'll be a lot of fun. And I love hatchlings. So, all right. No, I don't have my Cuban True and Chameleon yet. Natural sunlight changes everything. It's crazy. Dean, you are not kidding. It's amazing how magic sunlight is. Hey, Joanne, glad you made it. Uh-oh. Just ordered my coffee mug and t-shirt from Chameleon Academy, but don't think my address updated to my Arizona address. Okay. Well, somebody else, there's another company that handles the fulfillment of that. And so, well, we'll see. They usually figure things like that out. Have you thought of publishing a book or books along the lines of the complete species range of husbandry titles? Yes, I have. I have for a long time, and I've wanted to for a long time. The the problem with that is that husbandry has been moving forward, and I keep moving the husbandry forward that I'm exploring. And so and honestly, if you go to the chameleonacademy.com, that website, there is a complete course structure on that website. Originally, that was meant to be a book. I was making that for a print book. And then I realized this would be better served as a website. And so my aspirations for publishing a book are still there. I would love to do that. And I think I would love to do that for my own satisfaction and for people who love books and love to sit back with a coffee and open up a Chameleon book. And so I think I would definitely like to do it. And I think I will do it with all of this material I'm making for the Panther Chameleon podcast. I mean, I'm writing it all anyways, and I'm putting pictures together. So I think I will do it because I want to, and for the people who love books. But I think as an educational outreach, I really like podcasting. That's really my medium of choice. I know video is more popular. Uh, I but this is what I do. So, and I will do video, but I love podcasting. So I know it is cutting down on, I could be more successful if I was more into video. I realize that, but I got to be, this is who I am. So I am self limiting, but I'm glad that you all are here and are appreciating the way I produce things. But yes, I have thought about book or books, and I intend to publish something at least for my satisfaction. And so, yeah, just keep watch on that, and I will. Howard, you're there. Okay. Howard's asking, is James Cross in the house? Bill has his fogger on. Yes, James Cross is in the house, but we have arranged. We are saving the presentation for next week. I am promising that next week there will be a completely different backdrop for me, and it will be cool. It will be incredibly cool. And so we're gonna wait for that. All right. So, hey, Natalie is here. Hello, Natalie. So, James Cross and Howard have connected in the chat. You know what? It's really cool when we have enough community on these live chats that you guys start talking in the chat. I like that. Hi, Bill. The episode on different standards of breeders and keepers was very interesting. What's the place of commercial breeders in the future? Why not just buy from enthusiasts without financial interest? Okay, there's enough, a lot to unpack there. First of all, the problem with breeders without a financial enthusiast without financial interest is they don't generally give good care. It's expensive to do it correctly. And if you listen to that episode, I am pushing for us to have minimum standards that only go with breeders that keep chameleons separately. That takes financial input and reinvestment. And when you start getting into people, we talked with Jonathan Hill. He was on that episode. He talked about how he spent 3 years reinvesting everything into his setup, and he's got a pretty substantial setup now. The problem with enthusiasts is they don't have that long-term vision. They and I'm talking generally. Obviously, there's everybody's different, but generally they're in it for a clutch or two, but they're not going to invest unless they get serious. So the place of commercial breeders in the future, that it remains to be seen. And if we're talking about commercial breeders, we're talking about large scale breeders. I think there's still a place for large scale breeders, as large as people want to, as long as they can provide the husbandry that we know chameleons should. Just because you're a breeder doesn't mean you should be able to cut corners. Doesn't mean that you can bin raise babies and group raise babies. And I know, and I hear from breeders all the time, believe me, and I went through this stage. Oh, I know how to do it. I'm key. I know how to sort them out. I know how to separate them. I know how to look for the bullies. You've developed a skill in substandard chameleon husbandry. Congratulations. It's not a badge of honor. If you want to brag about how good you are at breeding, do it right. Don't use your experience to do it wrong. So there's going to be a little bit of a clash there because a lot of experienced breeders are really up in arms at the thought that they're not giving the best husbandry, and so there's a lot of pushback. But yeah, what's right is right. I didn't write the rules. We know chameleons do not do well together. Period. Now that's not negotiable. It's not someone being mean. So that's just the reality of it. And so we've got to acknowledge the reality. I wish that wasn't the reality. I wish they'd love to be together. I didn't make up that rule. I'm just verbalizing what we all know. So it's not a Bill Strand thing. It's nature. That's what chameleons are. So my ideas, I really love to see there actually become this what are they called the small breeders that only have a couple of pairs, and I'd like to see that become the norm because for more reasons than one. Uh, I think that's a way that we can disperse the breeding throughout the community. That is enough of a breeding situation where people will invest in the infrastructure because they are truly commercial breeders. They're just not large scale commercial breeders. And there we're going to keep more breeders because they will be enjoying it a whole lot more. If you just do one or two clutches a year or at a time, you will enjoy it as a breeder a lot more than if you just have all these eggs constantly hatching. So I think it's good for the community, but it's a big topic. We will continue to be talking about this, and I do want to say I absolutely encourage people to make money breeding because that's the way that we keep people around. That's the way that in 10 years we have the same people doing the breeding. If they're not making money or if they're losing money doing this, they're only going to do it until they've done it a couple of times and then they're done. And they've got to be paid some way. They're either being paid in enjoyment or they're being paid in ego because they're being seen as a breeder. Enjoyment and ego dissipate, and really, I think the best way to maintain solid breeding experience in the community is to make sure it's profitable. And so I want every breeder who actually is doing it right to be financially rewarded for that, because that's the cornerstone of our community. That we need the people who are solid in it and are investing back in. Yeah, there's my thought on that. Let's see. I better go down and let's see. I adopted a veiled chameleon who was near death, super thin, no color. Oh no! I built him a great enclosure thanks to all your videos. Healthy now, gaining weight. Oh, I love hearing these stories. Thank you very much for sharing with me. Hides from me whenever he sees me. Yeah. Welcome to veiled chameleons. Every one of them's got their personality. They're either stay away or I'm going to bite you, or they hide away. Yeah. Oh. Jonathan, talking about the breeders, very few of us are full-time as well. There are only 2 to 3 full-time people, and that's true. And Jonathan is great to talk to about this because he is so honest about everything, and you can have a real conversation with him. And yeah, he's on that edge. He is a serious retail breeder, but he's got another job. And yeah, he's got to negotiate both of those worlds. There's very few people that do full time, like he says, 2 to 3 full time people that are doing only chameleon breeding. But the thing is, there's got to be something that keeps Jonathan going because right now, his operation, it takes a lot of space, takes a lot of money, and takes a lot of time. And so, if he was not being compensated for that in some way, whether financially or ego or whatever else he needs to feed him, he would not do it. And I can tell you, I love having him here because he shows you the lineage. You go to his website, you can find all the lineage. And my Antilles that I got is absolutely gorgeous. And I would not be able to have a chameleon like that without people like Jonathan. So yeah, it's a complicated topic. Build the turtle world is very different. Enthusiasts are in it for decades. I mean, we have a couple of people doing it for decades. I'd be very interested in learning more about the turtle world. But yeah, in chameleons, people flow in and out. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years. I mean, I know there's a couple of people from the 90s that are still here. A lot more that started in the 2000s, but we get a lot of turnover in the chameleons, and maybe it's I don't know how much it takes to breed turtles, but it takes a lot to breed chameleons. They are just don't tell them I said this. They're miserable things to breed. I love them, and I have the greatest joy in breeding chameleons, but boy, they're miserable. They don't like to be around each other. They require so much care. And so anyway, it's easy to burn out on breeding chameleons. Lee Anthony, I'm growing my plants for my enclosure. I've heard aquarium water is a great source of nutrients for the plants. What are your thoughts? Any tips on how to grow healthy? I don't have an aquarium, so I don't have that available to me. Sounds like it would make sense, but I don't know. Go ahead, try it. If it makes for great plants, I'm all for it. So that's interesting. Let me know how it goes. Tutorial Tom is saying to get F2 animals might require 20 years. Okay, yeah. So maybe you guys are on just a much longer timeline than we are. But that's cool. That is cool to be involved with something that spans decades. That is very cool. Genevieve, I need to find a waiting list for captive bred Ustalet female. Any out there? Okay. In the chat, talk to Ryan, Surf Panther, and if Chameleon Dose comes on, those are the 2 to look for. And contact them, find a way. Hey, Surf Panther, Ryan, what's the best way for Genevieve to contact you? And it'll be a while. They're working on it, but that's the best contact. So please, you two, trade information because I would love to see the Ustaletai community grow. All right. Euro comes back. Thanks for the elaborate answer. I absolutely agree on making money out of offspring in order to refinance a passion. Yeah. And this is it's one of those things where people the actual money isn't good or bad. There are people that will come in and that will use that money to further their investment. Just look at what Jonathan Hill is doing. I mean, I keep using his name, but there's a reason why he keeps coming onto this podcast is because he demonstrates what a breeder should be. And he is just investing back into his infrastructure. He's testing out best ways that are including naturalistic. See, this is the thing. We have so many breeders that are using all of their years of experience to figure out the minimalistic husbandry. What's the minimum we can do? We can do sparse cages, small cages, plastic plants, no substrate. Wow, I'm so great because I figured this out. I was doing that 20, 25 years ago, and it's not something to brag about. Figuring out what the minimum panther chameleons or any chameleons need to survive and breed, that's nothing to brag about. Brag about how you're figuring out how to give them better lives. And I don't even know what enrichment means for a chameleon. It makes sense that it's there. Does having a bunch of live plants around, is that enough? Is every now and then having a fly going around and making them their blood run as they're trying to find that fly, is that enough for enrichment? I mean, this is one of the things I'm really looking for in my personal growth is, what does chameleon enrichment mean? I mean, like I said, it's kind of hard figuring out enrichment for an animal that when they're content, they don't move. They just hang out. They're content. So we're in the chameleon community. We're going to have to really come up with, how do we make sure that their lives are better? We figured out how to keep them alive. We figured out how to have them breed. But that's the basic of life. That's what every living thing does. And just because they breed doesn't mean that they are thriving. Oh, I hate that word. Oh, I hate that sound. Oh, well, chameleons should be thriving, not just surviving. And I hear that coming out of the mouths of people who figured out minimalistic husbandry. It's like, guys, you even see what you're doing. It's like, it's just like it's like a cheap cliche thrown out to for people to say that they've got great husbandry. Who knows? But yeah, we've got what I'd like to see is breeders taking on the mantle of the reputation. So many people want to be breeders because back in the 90s, like for panther chameleons, if you bred your chameleons, that meant that you were on the forefront of technology or in husbandry. You were figuring it out because that was special back then. We figured it out now. It's a recipe, but the breeders still think of themselves as being on the forefront of husbandry. You're following a recipe at this point. It takes something else to be on the forefront of husbandry now. Testing, figuring out how to make them more natural. How do you enrich? How do you give your adults better conditions? That's being on top of husbandry now. And so just being a breeder is following a recipe. It doesn't mean you are on the top of husbandry. So we've got to change the way we use our terms and give our respect, so to speak. So yeah. And yeah, that makes me really popular amongst the breeders. So let's see. What's in spec? So Howard's getting Ralph times Cosmo. Is that the red body blue bar? I know that Jonathan took a little tangent from his yellow body blue bar line and is now doing red body blue bar. And I like the yellow body. Yeah, that line is amazing. Okay. Yes. Okay. So yeah, Howard says, yes, it's the red body blue bar. Fogging for front James. Okay. All right. So we're talking about the fogging. We need to do the James Cross honorary fogging opening. So, all right. Time to do the opening. So, yep. This is what we do. Everybody get ready. Everybody get ready to take the pictures. There we go. Perfect. So, for everybody who's saying, wait a minute, I thought you weren't supposed to fog while the lights are on. Well, there's no chameleon in here. This is my display cage that I've been testing my fogger with. So there's no chameleon in there. Um, and really, it's the fog and heat that you don't want to mix up. It's not fog and light, but since lights always create heat, it's a lot easier to say fog and light. So if you're somebody who wants to understand what's behind the little sound bites, that's what's behind the little sound bite. If you're someone who just wants the sound bite and doesn't have an attention span for the second sentence, well, then don't fog while the lights are on is good for you. So I prefer the yellow body as well. Yes. I love the blue body red bar, but I've had that. Maybe it's because I've had that before, and now I'm looking for something different. But boy, I just love the one I got from the yellow body that I got from Jonathan. Oh, here's a meaty question here. If you had a bunch of zoology students ready to find answers for current husbandry, health, ecology mysteries, what would you get them to study? A list of research priorities per se. Ooh, oh my goodness, this is such a good question. I want to come up. Okay, so one of the biggest black holes we have in chameleons is nutrition. Where do they get vitamin A? There are some insects that have vitamin A. There are carotenoids out there, but then Dr. Gary Ferguson did a study that said that implied that a panther chameleon female would not use beta carotene to convert to vitamin A. Now, in that experiment, beta carotene was given as an isolate, so there was no entourage effect. There was nothing around it, and we know that things interact for it to work. So maybe there's something that's got to go with beta carotene so that they can convert the carotenoid to vitamin A. And this is a big question because most vitamin A is stored in the organs of vertebrates, but not necessarily a whole lot of vitamin A, preformed vitamin A, is found in insects, which is the diet of chameleons mostly. And you could say, yes, but they get a lizard every now and then. Yeah, but how does that explain how a carpet chameleon gets vitamin A, or Brucessia, who's smaller than any other mammal? So where chameleons get vitamin A is a huge thing that I would love to know. That would be amazing. Let's see. Is there? I know there's others. Maybe I'll go with that, and I'll keep that percolating in my brain. If you could get that, that would be huge. One smaller that wouldn't be good for zoology students, but for us in the chameleon community, is right now we have a number of people who have tested, verified multi-generationally that giving chameleons UV index 3 at the basking branch can be sufficient to allow females to synthesize enough vitamin D3 to be able to have completely calcified clutches of eggs without dietary D3. What I would like to go and do next is understand, would UVI2 do that? We found one that works, and we've determined that at UV index 6, I don't think we haven't found any advantage at UVI 6. So we know we don't have to go above UVI 3. But the question is, can we go below UVI 3? Can we go to UVI 2? And then once we do that, what dose? Meaning that UVI 3 was tested at 12 hours a day. Can we take UVI 3 to 2 hours a day? Is the chameleon getting everything they need from that morning warm-up, and then the rest, like the morning warm-up of an hour, and then the rest of the 11 hours is completely wasted and we don't need that? because we know that chameleons, just like us, when we're done using the UVB to synthesize vitamin D3, our skin then blocks the rest of the UVB. And so any UVB after that point is not only is it useless and not used, but it is actively being blocked. And now it's doing things like creating skin cancer. So it in the future, it'd be very good to figure out where could we stop giving UVB, dose, UV index times number of hours, what's necessary. And the reason why this is not as easy as a math problem is you have a female or a chameleon that has choices. And so we have to not doing it in a lab like Gary Ferguson does is wonderful. It's great. It gives an answer, but those are forcing things upon a chameleon. What happens when you have them in a large cage where they have the choice to they have multiple choices? Well, that's when it starts to get difficult to attach scientific numbers to, but it's very valuable for those of us in the community because that's what we're dealing with, and we're not really caring about the absolute scientific fact or truth. We need application. What conditions can we set up that the chameleon can choose within the environment? So that's another thing that would be, I think, is for forward. And then one thing I'd like to do to see, which is very difficult. I don't even know how to. I don't even know how to measure this. I'd like to figure out how we in the chameleon community can provide enrichment for chameleons. And I don't even know how you're going to measure that. The problem with that is that people are anthropomorphizing chameleons. And so I've got people out there right now who are saying, Bill, yeah, you're just now getting along, catching up. We've all known that chameleons have souls, and chameleons are curious and jealous. And so they've created an entire pantheon of human emotions for their chameleon. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about letting them be chameleons, but what is needed to help their brain develop with stimulus. And we're keeping them in a cage. They don't get the stimulus of constantly worrying about predators. We don't want predators there, but is there a value in having that stimulus that helps develop their brain? And so this is the kind of thing that would be great to, I think it would be a huge step forward to figure out how we would even put together a study like that. So that would be my answer to that question. I love that question. I would love to be able to do stuff like that. Vitamins are better absorbed when attached to a carbohydrate. Yeah, see, this is the problem with our supplementation. It all has to be in balance. And how balanced are our supplements that we have right now? Are of our powders where we throw everything at the wall at once? That's not what they're getting in the wild, is it? And so they've had to adjust to our supplement powders, which some of them have been designed for turtles. Like Reptivite was designed for turtle, not chameleons. That's why it has phosphorus in it. And our crickets have phosphorus in it. So if you're using Reptivite for your chameleon on crickets, you're never going to be able to give them the 2-to-1 calcium to phosphorus ratio, because you keep adding phosphorus to a cricket that already has a lot of phosphorus. So it's not balanced for what we know. So that's the problem I have with Reptivite. And that's why a lot of vets say don't use a supplement that has phosphorus, because our food already has phosphorus. And that's because we're using nocturnal insects. Diurnal insects, we're starting to use grasshoppers. Well, then that's going to have a different makeup, and so maybe this will change. But yes, nutrition is so complicated. And then got to add a carbohydrates and uh, how uh, how are carotenoids, what is required for them to be effective. Whew, a lot of stuff to talk about. Have you ever seen a hatchling come out with an umbilical cord or similar organs? Could you speak about that a little? Yeah. I mean, they have a little, like a little yolk thing that comes with them, and that's attached to them. And many chameleons, when they're coming out of the egg, they still have that attached. And you'll see that right around their hind legs underneath. And by their hind legs, it'll be a little yellow sac. There may be even just the tube, not even the sac. So, yeah, it comes, it's natural. It happens all the time. And it falls off as they're crawling around. It'll fall off. But yes, they do hatch with that. A lot of them come out and it's already fallen off, but a number of them come out and it's still there. And by the way, on the next, like the third episode or whatever, the Panther Chameleon podcast, I'm going to be having a complete gallery of pictures of what the eggs look like, how they develop, how they hatch. And so people who are hatching out a Panther Chameleon egg for the first time, they will know everything that's going on, everything that I can put in there as to this could happen, so they know what to worry about and what not to worry about. And spoiler alert, don't worry about anything except mold. Or okay, if the egg collapses, but if it collapses and the baby's dead, then it's going to mold. So if it's not molded, not collapsed, you're fine. Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff happens, but yeah. I don't need the wild colors because they're awesome. They're just the way they look. Here, here. I am glad. I agree. Chameleons and geckos have such incredibly unique and advanced adaptations like their skin or web feet. How could they possibly achieve that with random mutations? I always wondered. Well, the way their evolution works is if it gives you a little bit of an advantage, then it gives you an advantage, and that's the way it works. And so that's how evolution works. Would my 4x7 enclosure work for a Parsons? Those dimensions will work for a Parsons. So you just have to make sure the inside has the right branches and plants. But yes. We need a new Stiletto propaganda campaign. Dean, I have already committed to Ryan and Gabriel that I will do an Ustaletai propaganda campaign. I will call it an Ustaletai awareness campaign, but as soon as there's actually some captive hatched Ustaletai available through your all of your breeding programs, whoever's breeding them, I am going to be a voice for Ustaletai. I will be on here and I will say, guys, you need to. This is a great species because it is. It's such a great species. It's big. It's cryptic, and they've got great personalities. Generally speaking, every chameleon is different. So I'm excited. And as soon as we have captive breeding, a captive hatched Ustaletai available, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be talking about how great they are, and I'm going to be showing them off. And we'll see what happens. So I am rooting for all of you who are working with Ustaletai. I encourage you to get together and work together. There's a Facebook page called Ustaletai Obsessives or Obsessed. Ooh, I think I got that right. I'm part of it, but and find that. Get all together and work together, because this would be a great species to establish. Joanne, thank you very much for your support. For those people wondering, these super stickers are something that YouTube allows, so you can support what I'm doing here, and I really appreciate it. Appreciate it. Stinky's late. Oh no. Wonder if you've written about effective methods for circulating air in the tank. Struggling with increased airflow or maintaining my target humidity. That I have a podcast episode with Mario Youngman. So if you go to the Chameleon Academy podcast, it's I think it's entitled Fogging, but look for the one with Mario Youngman, and we talk about fogging and air circulation. So I think that's exactly what you're looking for. Just anybody can anybody take a look and see what episode that is? Do a Google search for Chameleon Academy. Let's see, fogging Mario. Oh, this is back when they got rid of the episode numbers at that point, but you can go to just search for fogging for chameleons, or fogging and airflow for chameleons with Mario Youngman. There we go. Here, I'm gonna let's see. I think I can put this in. So Stinky, this one's for you. I'm putting it in the chat. Take a look at that one, listen to that episode, because Mario has been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years, something like that. And they're all the hybrid cages, they're naturalistic, and he does fogging. He extensive fogging, but he also has his air system for air circulation. So I think that episode would be very good for you. See, breeding is so enticing until a group of babies pop, and then it's the work and money. Yes, it's amazing how much money you spend to feed these little guys. Yeah. I'm working with a Russian buddy that successfully hashed this lead eye. Sharing info is slow. We have to use Google Translate. You know what? That is such the fun part about doing this, is when you are grabbing information from all corners of the world and putting it together. I love it. I love it. Let's see, Tia. I'm a bit jealous when you talk about finding the breed you trust or any variations of color. Here, if you find panther somewhere or breeder, or you get lucky. Yeah, Tia, I got to admit, we are lucky in the United States to have such a vast network of breeders, and I know in Europe there's very established breeders, but you've got a lot of countries there, and I just get the idea that there aren't as many as there are in the United States. I don't know why that is. I know you have some very good breeders in Europe, but yeah, we are lucky in the United States. I will fully admit that. And the fact that I can say, well, this is how you choose your breeder by this one husbandry aspect, and you'll find a handful of breeders doing that, a lot of breeders not doing that, but yeah, we are a little bit spoiled here. So in that manner, and so I will not take that for granted. Oh. All right, all we are coming to the end of the hour. Um, I am getting together I'm putting together next week. I'm going to have a newsletter. For those who don't know, I actually have a Chameleon Academy newsletter. I don't do it every week because I don't have something to say every week, and I hate it when your inbox is filled with people who feel like they have to write something. So you only get one every month, maybe one or twice a month. But I'm gearing up. It's time for me to do an announcement. So if you want to join this newsletter and get this in the email, your inbox, go to the chameleonacademy.com website and look for newsletter. Let's see, you should be able to find it on the, yeah, if you go onto the homepage, I have one of the first things that come up is newsletter sign up. And if you sign up there, then you can get the newsletter. You'll get a couple of introductory newsletters. But then I think next weekend, I'm going to be sending out an announcement to my newsletter crew about the new Panther Chameleon podcast. And if you guys are interested in all of the things that I go through trying to figure out what I'm doing and in advance, Like all of my Patreon people, they know about what I'm doing. They know about the plans. They know about the Panther Chameleon podcast. They've been able to give me my feedback. And so if you're interested in doing something like that, I invite you to check out the Patreon. I admit I don't have a whole lot of perks there. It's more as a supporting my outreach, but I do put things there ahead of time and get feedback from the people. And if you have any, if you'd like to hear what's going on in the future of the Chameleon Academy or Panther Chameleon podcast, or want to give your opinions or discuss it, that's a perfect place for it. And of course, for all of you who are on the Patreon or supporting me on the Instagram, I really appreciate that. It's all going towards my next trip to Madagascar, which I will, of course, bring you all with me like I did last time. And I got to admit, yeah, it was a great thing being in Madagascar. Great experience. But one of the coolest things was when I was able to go live inside of Ranamafana National Park with all of you there. And I know it was in the middle of the night, so many people, and I didn't know when I was going to be able to get signal. So it's not like I could make an appointment. But if you go back to my Instagram account, you can see me walking through the forest live with all of you. And so it is, doing it is really cool, being able to bring all of you with me in some manner or form, at least vicariously digitally. That was so cool. And so I'm looking to do that again. And so any support on Patreon is going to the travels so I can invest back into the outreach. So thank you all for being here. If you're going to be taking a look at the Panther Chameleon podcast and taking a look at the episode, I would love it if you do a rating, but I also love the feedback. I am specifically doing this, like the Panther Chameleon, the Chameleon Academy podcast is more of my personal journey, and so you're along with me, and these are the questions I want answered. And whether anybody was listening or not, this is for me. It really is. These are the questions I want answered. The Panther Chameleon podcast is specifically for people to start with, and so I am very interested in feedback from you. If you listen to it as somebody who's just starting in with chameleons, what do you think? I have no problem 6 months from now going back and re-recording those episodes if it would make it more effective. And it doesn't mean I want to push everything into each episode. I want it to be enjoyable, and I want it to be easy steps. But if there's something that you listen to it and you say, well, wait a minute, what's UVB? I realize I'm talking about UVB a lot, and maybe someone listening to it doesn't know what UVB is. So that's an example. If there's something that you say, wait a minute, I don't fully understand that, let me know. You can message me on Instagram, Chameleon Academy Instagram. You can send me an email to bill@chameleonacademy.com. But I appreciate your feedback to make this an effective tool for people. So Panther Chameleon podcast is for the beginner. And I'd love to hear back. And if you love it, let me know that as well. I mean, I'm a human being. I enjoy it when people let me know that I've done a good job. And let's see. I'll go catch up on my comments here. Genevieve has spoken with him. I assume that's Ryan. My big boy Caesar is waiting. Usletai. Yep. Let's get a lady for Caesar. Let's get a lady for Caesar. Experience awesome episode. Thank you very much for joining here. Bill, how about a South Florida herping trip for chameleon? That's an interesting idea. Oh, that's you know what? I ought to look into that. The one thing I didn't like about Florida herping is it's like you're going around private property. And so you got to be really careful. And people don't like chameleon hunters there coming on their property to look at lizards. So anyway, I'll think about that. That's a great idea, though. And Joanne, thoroughly enjoyed traveling with you virtually. Yes, that was so much fun. And I was actually able to go live with an O'Shaughnessy eye in front of me. I was able to go live showing people of juvenile Christopher, Parson Eye Christopher. That was a lot of fun. And Surf Feather, buy Bill's merch, order a shirt. They're on sale. Oh, they are? Oh, hey. All right, guys. My t-shirts are on sale. The sales are actually handled by the company that fulfills it. So I don't always know when there's a sale. But yeah, guys, I mean, another way to support the outreach here is to buy the merch. You buy a t-shirt, I get a couple of bucks. Buy a mug, I get a couple of bucks, and it all adds up and sends me to Madagascar. So all right, so I'm uh, going to sign off here. The next time I'm going to be going live is Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific on the Instagram account. And so you can come see me then. And other things, sign up for the newsletter if you'd like to get the announcement next weekend. And join Patreon if you'd like to get these kind of announcements 2 weeks before they actually happen and are able to give your input and feedback along the way. So, and Ryan is saying it best. Have a great day, everyone. And I will see you next time.